On the morning of 20 September 1994, elements of the 10th Mountain Division landed on the tarmac in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. But this was not an invasion as much as an intervention, because of an 11th hour deal hammered out by former President Jimmy Carter, Senator Sam Nunn, and former Chairman Joint Chiefs, retired General Colin Powell. The U.S. forces arrived without firing a shot, but the coup dictatorship of Haitian Army General Raoul Cedras was temporarily left intact, and now the monumental task of restoring democracy to Haiti was about to begin. The U.S. forces arrived as spontaneous street celebrations by the Lave-Las, the supporters of exiled President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Carrying tree branches, the symbol of their party, they welcomed the troops openly. But old habits die hard, and reprisals by the Haitian military and police, known as the FAUD, were ruthless and swift. The U.S. responded, and within days, the political machine of General Cedras was systematically dismantled. The FAUD heavy weapons platoon was captured, the Haitian police force disarmed and purged, and in a raid on its Port-au-Prince headquarters, the vigilante thug force FRAP was disbanded. By early October, Cedras relinquished power under pressure from the United States, and under the cover of darkness boarded a plane with his family bound for exile in Panama. U.S. forces in Haiti numbered nearly 16,000 on 15 October when the government of President Aristide returned to power. But this was only the first step of a much larger undertaking. The returning Haitian government faced a wave of challenges on the road to democracy. Haiti as a nation had only known dictatorship and had no history of democratic freedom. U.S. Ambassador to Haiti, William Lacey Swing, realized that to ensure a successful transition, the newly appointed ministers needed fresh, highly specialized advisors to provide information and lend their expertise.
The then Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Atlantic Command, Admiral Paul David Miller, with whom I had been in very close touch on the whole operation, phoned me one day and said, I have this reserve unit of very highly qualified professionals in civilian life who we plan to activate and to send to you as advisors in the various ministries. And then I pick it up again on the first of the 3 visits which to date Secretary of Defense William Perry has made. And it was on the first of those 3 visits that the Secretary expressed to me his concern, and Washington's concern, I believe, that the new government might not be as well equipped as it might be to handle the enormous workload and challenge that was coming upon him. And so he, at that point, encouraged me strongly to look carefully at the at this reserve unit.
Also, the ambassador asked what our plan of continuity was.
On 29 October, the group assembled for their first meeting. They were engineers, educators, doctors, captains of industry, banking, and government. Led by Army Reserve Brigadier General Bruce Bingham, the newly formed Ministerial Advisory Team, or MAT team for short, became the instant advisors Ambassador Swing was looking for.
The concept was we would be injected in and work with each of the ministries that would have us. And our purpose would be to help them start up the organization and administrative aspects of their ministry, or if the ministry was mature enough, to lend the technical civilian skills to that minister to crank it up and jumpstart it.
The MAT team divided into smaller 2- and 3-man teams covering a wide range of civil affairs specialties. As these smaller MAT teams fanned out over the countryside, Brigadier General Bingham and MAT team deputy Colonel Bob Norton coordinated operations with Ambassador Swing, the commander 10th Mountain Division, Major General David Meade, USAID, and local government leaders, while ensuring integration between the MAT teams themselves and their ministries.
We have a wide variety of people, and my responsibility is to make sure that they understand what they're to do, not only within their individual ministry, but also, given what they need to do, who else in the other ministries they need to work with to make sure that it comes to fruition. The first thing we wanted out of the ministers here in Haiti was their priorities, or were their priorities. Once we were informed of those priorities, each of our advisors developed a list of tasks in coordination with that ministry that would support those priorities. Of particular interest to us is, having worked out what those tasks are and how to make them work, how do we fund them? Because of course you need resourcing.
Funding ministry projects was a major problem, and the Ministry of Finance needed to know how much Haitian currency was available, where it was going, and how to keep government spending on track. Lieutenant Colonel George Thomas and Colonel Richard Hudak were able to draw upon years of experience in banking and finance to help focus Haiti's central bank on its role in the nation's future.
Particularly, I have been talking with the people that work on the money and circulation problems. These are the people that order the currency, order the printing of the money. And I've energized them to begin planning what to do when the central bank governor arrives. How much it will cost, how much do they need, when do they need to make this happen. Well, at first we were received with skepticism. They knew we were Army people at the central bank and the Ministry of Finance, but we didn't go in uniform. As you can see, I'm wearing a suit. That broke down some of the barriers. And as we explained our mission, and they saw that we weren't there to control but to contribute, people began to open up to us.
As the finance team assisted the Ministry of Finance address the national budget for 1995, the other team set out to investigate, analyze, and study. In their own words, here is what they discovered.
Water actually in Haiti is pretty good. The source of water, because they have pretty deep aquifers, and the aquifers are pretty aseptic. The problem is the distribution of water. When they get it out of the ground and try to distribute to different people, then it becomes contaminated, or it can't get to all the people in the municipalities where it's needed. I personally was able to find a source of HTH, which is nothing more than swimming pool chlorine, but they use it in their systems here. And I was able to procure about 16 tons, which actually the Pan American World Health Organization bought and paid for, but I found the source and was able to distribute it throughout the communities in Haiti here.
Now, there are justices of the peace operating out there in the towns. They do not have an organized police force working with them. There is no way to enforce warrants for arrest. There's no way to enforce their court orders unless the American forces are there and are prevailed upon to act to keep the peace, to maintain a safe and secure environment. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to determine who's out there that's functioning, who can be trustworthy, and that's kind of hard to do on occasion when we don't have everybody to talk to. But we are reporting back to United States Agency for International Development, reporting directly to them and to the military chain of command on our findings.
We've spent a considerable amount of time linked in with what they have is an Office of National Tourism, which is a component of the Commerce and Industry Ministry. We have worked with these people to try and find out how we can help them start revitalizing tourism in Haiti. And we are doing things in the area of bringing together the private sector tourism people, the people who manage the hotels and restaurants, the association that these people belong to, with the public sector, with their counterparts in the government. And currently, the government does have a hotel and food school, the Haiti Hotel School, but it has a limited capacity in the number of students and space it has available right now. They currently take in 75 students each year for a 2-year program, but they are not in a position right now to take in more people, and they get about 600 to 800 applicants each year. So they only can take in 75, so there are people interested, but an inability to do that.
Well, the port, it is a functioning port. There are some infrastructure improvements that are needed, but the port functions. The main issues that need to be addressed are with the Port Authority and with the administration of the Port Authority. Such things as work rules, such things as the fees charged, which are the highest in the Caribbean and some say the highest in the Western Hemisphere. In discussing some of these issues with one of the shippers, and even prior to speaking to the shipper, I had found out that this particular shipper had paid the Port Authority in excess of 9 million gourds, which comes out to almost $1 million. In the course of talking to him, he did acknowledge that and has indicated that he has subsequently paid more. One of the things that we want to now do is to look at it from the other direction, from the finance ministry back to the Port Authority, to find out if we can track where that money is. If we can track where that is, at least it shows that there is a system. Now, it doesn't speak to necessarily the quality of the system, but it just says that there is a system of some tracking. If we cannot track a quantity of 9 million gourd in this economy, well, we have a problem, and then that indicates that the system is really broken.
Basically, there's a very limited agricultural base in Haiti, and the population has grown beyond the ability of that agricultural base to support. And so people have moved to more and more marginal lands for agriculture, and most of the uplands now have been clear-cut and an effort made to convert them into some sort of agriculture. In most instances, the agriculture is a temporary short-term crop which exposes the hillside to excessive erosion, and not long after the harvest we see a large amount of soil loss, particularly from the upper soil horizons where the majority of the nutrients are. So the soil becomes very rocky. It loses most of its nutrient capacity, and in some instances, even though they get some initial crop production, it falls off very rapidly after we have heavy rainfalls. A lot of the damage from Tropical Storm Gordon was in Jacmel, and as you travel through the lowlands there, you'll see where there was huge debris torrents that came down. In one instance, I believe they washed out 2 bridges, if I'm not mistaken, the abutment of one very large bridge and then another. And but if you go into the headwaters above Jacmel, what you see is this country that I've talked about, where the land has been cleared in an effort to do some type of agriculture. Then the heavy rains came and washed the soil off the hillsides, and you see huge ravines and gully erosion that then washed out the bottom. Basically, I think there'll be a good effort in the NGO community right away. I think the ministry will also give us a good effort, but they'll take a little bit longer than the NGO community because they need to reestablish so much from scratch.
This country has an attitude towards education that's unique. It's a high cultural value. Everybody, from the right to the left, rich and poor, agrees that education is the most important thing that there is. If you go out anywhere in this country, you'll see kids scrubbed on their way to school. You know, little girls with bows in their hair, they're neat, clean, ready to go. But at the same time, 2 out of 3 kids can't go to school because they can't afford the tuition, and there may not be a public school available to serve them. And you're talking about $50 a year here. So with an average income of maybe $300 a year for the country, that's an old figure, but it's I don't know of any better ones. You can see where $50 a year just may not be possible. If a family has the money, that's what they'll spend it on, ahead of food. But in spite of this fascination with and respect for education, you've got an illiteracy rate of 80%. 20% can read and write, and that's dropped 15% in the last 10 years. So you can say that the system here is collapsing. It's getting worse. So one of the purposes of these visits that we're coordinating out to the departments is also to try and stimulate the debate, get people thinking education reform, understand why they want to do it, and understand what it is they want out of it. You know, to be grand about this and ambitious, the product could be the first social consensus this country's had since independence. It's exciting.
Primarily, I'm working with the Foreign Affairs Minister, and we're dealing with such things as strategy for bilateral relations with the Dominican Republic, migrant resettlement issues with 9 different governments, and devising for them an organizational restructuring program for the ministry, both here in Haiti and for their foreign ministries abroad. In addition to the foreign ministry, I have officers that report to me that are dealing with the Ministry of Interior, and they are working on establishing an emergency management system for disaster relief here in Haiti. You're talking the entire gamut that would be used, all the way over from as you say, ambulance and hospital type of coverages or types of services to such things as morgues, that sort of thing, to food, shelter type of thing, type of facilities, you should say fire, that sort of thing. The entire gamut of what will be required in a disaster, for disaster resistance.
I'm a physician from San Jose, California, and I jumped at the opportunity to come down here because it's an opportunity you won't get twice, and it's a chance to really impact the healthcare delivery for 7 million people. 15% of all children will not live over the age of 5 in this country. Haiti is a country that has the highest mortality from disease of any country in this hemisphere. St. Catherine's Hospital is in Cité Soleil, which is probably the poorest slum here in Port-au-Prince. St. Catherine's itself is a mix of private and public-funded organization for the hospital. So actually the hospital is a cut above most others, but even there, you saw beds filled with little children that are in various stages of dying. Is he still bleeding despite the operation? Yeah. That boy who's 14 years old probably won't last more than 3 or 4 days more. He's got a bleeding ulcer, and they keep transfusing him because they did try one operation and it wasn't successful. And as of 2 days ago, they gave him his last transfusion, and they don't have any money to buy another transfusion, so it's just a matter of time before he loses more blood and slips into a coma and will die. Your heart really goes out to someone like that, because in the United States, we just take him back into the operating room, operate on him, and he'd probably be up on his feet in about 5 days. But that situation is such that there's just nothing here in this system that could support that, so that's out of the question, even though they know what to do. Why it's non-functioning may not be difficult to find out. We're here to advise and assist the Minister of Health. We're looking at trying to help him organize his ministry, help him get up and running the public health essential services for care, and help him train biomedical technicians so that they can fix the equipment in this country.
About 20 years, sir.
20 years. Does it break a lot? About 80% of the equipment in the public hospitals is non-operational. That's an autoclave. It's an autoclave that's probably, just my guess looking at it, is about 40 years old or so, and it's hanging on by its fingernails. According to the director, they have to repair that about every week. There are only 2 trained biomedical technicians in all of Haiti. And because of that, they can exact a fair price, and people in the public sector like that, public hospitals, just don't get a chance to use them. Would you tell the doctor that one of the programs that we're setting up here is a school to train technicians for repair?
Un des programmes que nous voulons mettre en marche, c'est un programme d'enseignement pour les techniciens pour réparer.
Probably the greatest thing that we can leave here is to start a school to train biomedical technicians in Haiti. With the limited amount of resources I have, and I don't have any funds, I think that's the one positive that I would look at later and say, yeah, that's really made a big difference in the system.
Under the Civil Military Operations Center, the MAT team worked alongside the Humanitarian Assistance Coordination Center and the Tactical Planning, PSYOP, and Special Forces teams in the surrounding countrysides. Together, they not only vindicated civil affairs doctrine, but also created new concepts which will influence future civil affairs operations into the next century.
I truly believe this is the first ever, or certainly the first since World War II, instance where we have the State Department through the ambassador and Washington, D.C., working with the Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Atlantic Command, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, reserves, and active components to work together on a project. And this has been such a terrific success. I only pray it continues, and we leave here in a while having made a significant contribution to Haiti.
One of the reasons that the team was sent to us was because the success that Washington and the Atlantic Command had seen in the advisors who went both to Panama and I believe earlier to Grenada, and we drew on that experience. And my guess is that out of the Haiti experience, that this advisor concept will be refined still further and will be available for wherever that inevitable next crisis is.